I'm Erika Douglas. I work for Whatcom County Public Works. I coordinate our water quality program and our shellfish protection districts. I've been with the county for about 19 years, so I didn't get to raise my hand for the 20 years, but I'm close there. I grew up here in Whatcom County. I've left the area a couple times here and there for school, but this is where I was raised, and this is where I'm raising my family. It's important to me. And, you know, the title of this symposium is just perfect, Baker to Bay. We have these great resources here in our community, these majestic mountains that have snow-capped peaks. And then we have 130 miles of marine shoreline. Where else can you go that you can access the mountains and the marine shoreline in one day? A pretty unique resource here. And then we've got this little ribbon of water that helps connect those two pieces, the Nooksack River. And if you think about all of these different land uses and ways of life, lifestyle that we've been hearing about this morning, all of those are in between those mountains and the marine shorelines. And this river, this ribbon of water, helps connect those pieces. And then on top of that, we've got lots of small streams and ditches and stormwater pipes. And so they're all bringing us together and connecting us through our water. So why does water matter to you? If you live here in Whatcom County and we're talking about all of this water and you're here today talking about water, why does water matter to you? When we go out and talk with community members, there's often a common theme that we hear from folks. Clean water is important. We want it for us now. We want it for our future generations. So we're in the lunchtime lull here, so I'm going to ask you to participate a little bit here. As I bring up different reasons that water might matter to you, go ahead and raise your hand. Keep your hand up if you have multiple things that you can relate to here. Drinking water. How many of you want clean water for drinking? I would hope most of you do, all of you. Recreation. Who here likes to go out and recreate on the water? Yeah, boating, wading in the water, bird watching, all of those things require clean water. How about crops? Are there very many people in here that are growing crops? Great, great. Animals. We're raising animals. We want healthy animals. They need clean water as well. I've got dogs, cats, lizards. And then shellfish harvesting. This is the one that drives our program here. So we need clean water in our marine waters so that our shellfish that people are harvesting are safe for us to eat. Unfortunately, we see signs like this in many parts of our county now. They're saying that this beach is closed to shellfish harvesting because of poor water quality. So we have 4 major areas that I'm going to highlight here where we have shellfish protection districts that have been created, or we have programs that are working to specifically improve water quality in these areas. The first area is Drayton Harbor up there in northern Whatcom County. It's a little harbor there that is right next to the Canadian border. So obviously, we need to work with our Canadian partners there as well. But we have California Creek and Dakota Creek that feed into this system. This system supports commercial, tribal, and recreational shellfish harvest. Although in 1995, a portion of this harbor was closed to shellfish harvest because of poor water quality. And then in 1999, it was completely closed. Portage Bay, a little bit further to the south. This has the second largest recreational shellfish in Washington State. So they're at Portage Bay State Park. Well, back in 2008, we had a shellfish closure that was established around the mouth of Terrell Creek. It doesn't cover the whole bay, but it does cover a portion. And then as we move a little bit further south, this is where the Nooksack River connects in, and the area that we've been talking about a lot today. So that's Bellingham Bay, and on that western shore is an area that's really important for Lummi Nation, for their tribal harvest. And right now we have seasonal closures there. This area has suffered from 2 different shellfish closures. So back in 1997 and 1998, there was a closure. Then we upgraded following community action. And now back in 2015, 2016, we had a downgrade again. So right now, those tribal members are not able to harvest shellfish between October and December and April through June. Those are really important times for them economically and culturally. And then the Marine Resources Committee, which is a citizen group, has put a lot of focus in northern Chucknut Bay. This is a recreational area that supports a really diverse population of clams and would be a great resource for folks, but it's been closed since the mid-1990s. So what is causing the closure of all of these areas? What is the problem that we need to solve? All right, are you guys ready for this? Poop in the water. I know, it's a really technical term, but, and people are laughing and, it's uncomfortable talking about poop in the water, but, it's a way that we can start that discussion. So I'm a mom, so maybe this relates to me more, but I think that probably all of you have heard this phrase, everybody poops. Okay, when you're a mom and you're reading the book and trying to convince your child that it's okay, this discussion comes up more. But think of our community and what we support here. We have lots of humans, but we have all sorts of different types of animals too. We've got farm animals, we've got dogs, we've got cats, we've got deer, we've got raccoons, ducks. You could come up with all sorts of different things that live in our community. They all poop. So that means that they're all potential sources of bacteria, which is the way that we measure that poop level. So that fecal coliform, we measure that level of poop in our creeks, and they can come from all of these different sources. So we've talked about a lot of different areas in Whatcom County that are impacted for shellfish harvest. I'm going to use Portage Bay, so that western part of Bellingham Bay there, as an example of the patterns that we see. So this is marine water quality, and this is going from 1993 up to 2017. That red line there is our water quality standard. You can see that from 1993 to up to 2002-ish, we had some really high bacteria counts, and that's in the marine water. Bacteria don't survive super well in marine water in comparison to fresh water. So when you're seeing those high spikes, you know that you've got a bacteria problem. Through a lot of community action, those bacteria levels were able to drop. We saw a really good period where those shellfish beds were able to be open. But then in 2009, we started seeing those levels increase again. And then they exceeded the standard. It's looking a little bit better right now. I'm going to have you look at the same time frame for freshwater. So this is the Nooksack River at Marine Drive, so right as it's entering the Nooksack Delta. And you can see that this is from 2000 to 2017. So you can see that blue line there, and it's the start of that big spike of bacteria. Then it drops down for a while, and then it goes up and drops down a little bit. So that pattern that we see in the marine water is also seen in the freshwater, which tells us that we need to do some work upstream in the Nooksack River to bring our bacteria levels down. So there are solutions that work. They always say, don't throw out the problem if you can't provide the solutions. This has to be fixable. We need to feel like we can be successful as a community, and we can. We use water quality monitoring as one of our tools to help us do this work. So there's a few different tiers of water quality monitoring that we use. The first is long-term ambient or routine monitoring. We have about 80 sites throughout the county that we monitor monthly or twice a month. In the Nooksack River, we have 19 sites. Short-term ambient, these are the areas that we call our focus areas. So places where we're consistently seeing high bacteria levels, we go into those areas and break the streams into smaller segments, and we'll monitor on a more frequent basis. Up in the Fish Trap Creek watershed near Linden, we sample on a weekly basis. And then source tracking, that could involve all sorts of different things. Storm monitoring, bracket monitoring, measuring from outfalls, all sorts of different things where we're really trying to narrow down where is that bacteria source coming from. But having data for data's sake doesn't get us anywhere. We need to be able to share this information with people across agencies that are working to try to find solutions with community members that are trying to find solutions. And so we need to have easier access to data. So over the last 2 years, through the efforts of the Whatcom Conservation District, Washington State Department of Ag, and Washington State Department of Ecology, we've been able to create these online maps. And on these, after we collect samples, within a week, we're getting results up on this map for you. So you can go and you can find your house, your neighborhood, and see how water quality looks in your area this week, this month, whenever the most recent sample was taken. We also create water quality summaries that give you graphs of where water quality is in comparison to water quality standards and the raw data. So you can find all of these things on the Whatcom County Public Works website. So we mentioned that there are all sorts of different sources of bacteria or potential sources. So if you've got a diverse set of sources, you have to have a diverse set of solutions. There is no one set solution that is going to solve our problem here. So if we're talking about dog waste, well, pick up your dog waste, put it in a bag, toss it in the trash. If you're talking about septic systems, make sure that you're inspecting your septic systems, and if you find a problem that you're maintaining it or you're replacing your system if it's completely failing. We have funds to help with that. Follow a farm plan. If you have a small farm or a big farm, there are a lot of different tools that you can use to protect water quality. The Conservation District and there are private consultants that are able to help you identify best management practices that will help protect water quality. In marine shorelines where you've got public restrooms, make sure that you're using the public restroom. Places where people are fishing a whole bunch, use the porta potties. There's just a whole variety of things that we can do here. So where are we at right now? At the end of 2016, only 20% of the Nooksack sample sites were meeting water quality standards. So only 20%. There are 2 parts to the standard for fecal coliform. A lot of them are doing pretty well for a part of it, but not for both parts. However, if you look at the water quality patterns, while we aren't meeting water quality standards at all of these areas, over the last year we've seen improvements at about 80% of these stations. So that shows you that these solutions can help. So what are some of the things that we've been doing? There's a lot of different community members and agencies out there working, a lot of individual landowners inspecting their septic systems and making changes, new farm plans coming into place, enhancing best management practices on old farm plans, picking up after dogs, securing pet food so our urban wildlife isn't taking off, all sorts of different things. And when we come together as a community, we can have success. So back up to a smaller coastal drainage, Drayton Harbor. Last year, December 2016, we got to celebrate. And boy, was that a great thing. After 20 years of really hard work by nonprofits, community groups, agencies, all sorts of different folks making real investments in this effort, having individuals stand up and speak for Drayton Harbor, we were able to get to a year-round open area in 810 acres in Drayton Harbor. That allows for a viable recreational shellfish harvest, viable commercial shellfish harvest, which you'll hear more about from Steve Seymour later today, and tribal harvest. That's a huge success after 20 years of hard work. And there's Steve, who with his son is operating a commercial facility up in Drayton Harbor, the Drayton Harbor Oyster Company, producing incredible oysters. And then let's go back to Portage Bay. So again, Bellingham Bay, Nooksack River. I mentioned that we've had 2 closures there. So we had our closure in 1997, 1998, had those really high bacteria levels. They dropped down, they held steady for a little while there. We were able to get an upgrade. Great success. But we weren't diligent. We didn't keep our watershed stewardship up to speed. We were monitoring. We kind of were noticing some increases, but we didn't react to them quickly. And we didn't stay out and engage the community in the solutions and the watershed stewardship techniques that we know work to protect water quality. So we started seeing that increase in the Nooksack River. We started seeing that increase in Portage Bay. And we hit 2015 and 2016, and we had a downgrade of 800 acres. So that's not the direction we want to go. We're seeing successes now. Water quality in the Nooksack River, water quality in Portage Bay are looking better. During the spring season and the winter season, we still see spikes in bacteria, so we know we still have more work to do. But we're making progress. But there isn't one single silver bullet out there. I can't tell you how many times I've been asked, what changed? What do you need to do differently? What is going to make the difference here? Well, Drayton Harbor, it was so many different things. Portage Bay, it's so many different things. We just heard about all of these different livelihoods that are supported in the Nooksack River watershed. So here's my challenge to all of you. We're all a part of this community. So I'm gonna get you up from your lull again, okay? So I've got a smattering of things here that we can do to help reduce bacteria. If one of these fits with you, go ahead and stand up. Make a pledge that you are going to participate in this activity to help reduce bacteria here in the Nooksack River, as well as any watershed that you may live in, because it's a problem throughout. If there isn't something here that fits with you, but you can think of something else that would reduce bacteria that you've heard about here today, go ahead and stand up after we're done with all of these. So, picking up dog waste. Do you have a dog? Do you have a neighbor's dog? Do you see poop sitting on the sidewalk? Can you do that? Secure pet food from wildlife. So do you have a cat or a dog that eats outside? Do you bring in your food every night? Do you have a garbage can? Can you secure that garbage can so that raccoons and possums can't easily get in there? Maintain a septic system. How many of you live in rural Whatcom County and can maintain your septic system? How many of you have an RV or a boat? Pump out stations. That is what we need to use. Get rid of your sewage through a pump out station. Follow a farm plan. Do any of you have a small farm or a large farm? The Whatcom Conservation District is a great resource to help you find things that you can do on your farm. Plant stream buffers. I know that there's a ton of work parties out there. Nooksack Salmon Enhancement Association, Whatcom Conservation District, all sorts of different groups help people make a difference by planting trees out there. Other things, anybody who didn't stand yet, come up with something, please, because clean water is about us as a community. It's community solutions for clean water, and we want clean water now and for future generations. Water connects us through our rivers, our streams, our ditches, our stormwater, and feel free to contact us for more information.